Two spine-chilling true stories of haunted 4th of July events. Discover the cursed secrets revealed. The Johnson family stood at the edge of their neatly manicured lawn, excitement bubbling over like the soda cans they had just cracked open. The sun hung high in the Denver sky, casting long shadows while neighbors set up for the annual 4th of July block party. The aroma of sizzling burgers teased their senses, and laughter floated through the warm summer air. Yet, somewhere deep within, a chill began to creep into Amanda's heart. As she climbed the rickety attic stairs to grab decorations, her foot brushed against something hidden beneath a tattered blanket, an old scrapbook. Her fingertips trembled as she opened it, revealing faded newspaper clippings detailing a tragic event: the unexplained deaths of a family during a fireworks display decades ago. She could almost hear the whispers of the townsfolk, each turn of the page heavy with the past's horror. The bright colors of the 4th now felt like a mask, concealing what was lurking beneath. Outside, the festivities erupted. People were gathered, the mood electric, but in the back of her mind, unease gnawed at her. As twilight draped its shroud over the neighborhood, shadows seemed to flicker beneath the street lamps. Distant echoes of jubilant laughter were interspersed with unsettling murmurs. She noticed neighboring houses, their windows dark, flat as graves. The laughter of children morphed into something infantile, exaggerated, as young Tommy wailed about seeing figures darting among the trees, insisting cold hands gripped his leg. "Just your imagination," the adults said, dismissing him with hearty chuckles. But Amanda felt a shiver run down her spine. There was something more, something sinister lingering just beyond their colorful decorations. As fireworks illuminated the night, she stole another glance at the Herrera family's gas station, its flickering lights seeming almost alive, shadows moving purposefully within. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the first explosive crack shattered the air, urgency gnawed at Amanda. Laughter turned sharp, darting glances exchanged between neighbors. The happy cheers twisted, leaving a palpable tension in the air. Her heart raced, an urgent rhythm that drummed against her chest as she moved toward the Herrera stand. Miguel shook his head at stories of whispers and flickering lights, but a storm brewed in his eyes, shadows flickering against the backdrop of chaos. The night thickened with an urgency she couldn't explain. Amanda's pulse was quickening as cries drifted from the woods, a haunting melody of desperation unraveling the party's festive facade. A secret wove itself tight amongst them, a thread of guilt binding them to that past tragedy. Gathering breath as fear coiled tight in her gut, Amanda prepared to confront her father. What shadows lurked just beyond their sight? What price would they pay to unlock this cursed truth? As fireworks crackled overhead with blinding brilliance, a scream pierced the air, leaving an eerie silence that swallowed all cheer. Fear gripped Amanda as the illuminated night revealed the darkness they could no longer ignore. What awaited them in the obscured silence, as the horror of the past clawed its way back into their lives? Amanda stood frozen, heart hammering as the crowd erupted into chaos around her. Some clutched their children, faces pale with fright. Others dashed toward the sound of the scream, blindly careening into the night. Her father's face, once lined with summertime cheer, turned grave, eyes scanning the darkness, a silent plea for reassurance. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. She felt it deep within her bones, the way the air thickened, as if charged with an unseen force. The comforting pops and crackles of fireworks now sounded sinister, echoing in her ears like warnings from a dying world. She swallowed hard, adrenaline flooding her senses, urging her legs to move. "Stay close," her father barked, his voice barely breaking above the general mayhem. But on instinct, she wandered toward the edge of the lawn. The flickering glow from the fireworks cast dancing shadows over the swaying branches. Where she thought she saw them, shapes, figures. Their movements too fluid, too deliberate. Tommy's cries echoed again, louder this time, and Amanda felt a tremble run through her knees. He was still in the yard, trembling beneath the spinning lights as they lit up the periphery. "I saw them again," he shouted, eyes wide, pointing into the trees. "Cold hands. They want us." His panic cut through the din, and a hush fell over the gathering. Eyes turned toward the trembling boy, then drifted to the darkened woods, where whispers seemed to curl between the trunks. They were taunting, beckoning, as if responding to the boy's fear. Amanda's grip on the old scrapbook tightened as she fought the urge to hurl it away. She wanted the horror to be just that, a scrap of paper that could be ignored. But it wasn't. The terrified faces of her neighbors hinted at a collective fear that had long been buried, a tapestry woven with secrets that loomed just beyond their understanding. In the distance, the Herrera gas station stood as a specter, its flickering sign the only illumination that dared to stand against the void. Shadows flitted in front of it, shapes growing larger, more defined, until one emerged, a tall figure with an unyielding pressure in the air around it. The faint outline of something that looked so familiar yet so wrong sent icy fingers curling around her throat. She could feel them, echoes of the past. The family that had perished during the fireworks all those years ago. "Amanda!" her father shouted, snapping her out of her trance. He took a shaky step forward. "Get back." But she couldn't move. The aura of the figure loomed larger, and its intent pierced the air with a clarity that sent her heart plummeting. It moved closer, shadows curling off it like smoke, the faint outline of a face becoming more distinct, eerily familiar. "Amanda," the figure whispered, voice a chilling echo from the past. It was almost a lullaby, sweet yet profound, a calling she couldn't shake. The others were slowly backing away, dread painting their faces, muttering between breaths about curses and family sins. But nothing mattered beside the plea of darkness filling her head. Who are you?" she managed to whisper, feeling as if the world tilted on its axis. Suddenly, the ground beneath her trembled, a low rumble cutting through the rising tension. The sky cracked as another firework arced, brighter than all the rest, splintering into shards of light as the shadows seethed. The figure paused, eyes glistening with an understanding that felt impossibly ancient. "You're just like us now, bound to our story," it hissed, the air thickening around her. In that moment, Amanda realized they all shared one dreadful kinship, an unbroken circle of terror. She twisted to look back at her father, but he was swallowed by the crowd retreating into the night, abandoning her to face this ancestral horror. What nightmare awaited them, and at what cost? Every heartbeat echoed a truth she was terrified to uncover as the scream of the wind howled through the trees, chilling her to the bone. And somewhere within that darkness, a truth waited to be unleashed, one that would change everything. The figure loomed closer, its presence dragging Amanda into a suffocating fog of memory and dread. "You can't ignore your blood," it whispered, a voice that slithered into her ear, wrapping around her like icy fingers. Every instinct screamed for her to flee, yet her feet remained glued to the ground around her. The crowd wavered, eyes wide with horror as the shadows seemed to close in. Whispers grew louder, frantic and desperate. "It's happening again," someone muttered, the words spilling out like a prayer or perhaps a curse. Just then, another ear-piercing scream shattered the murmurs. This one not from Tommy, but from a woman across the yard. She dropped a half-melted popsicle, her hands trembling as she pointed toward the tree line. "There, I saw them." Those faces. The tension broke like glass, sending Amanda backward a step. The crowd teetered on the brink of an outright panic. Children were scooped up, mothers screamed for them to run, and fathers cursed under their breath. But no one dared face the darkness. It was all too familiar, too entwined with the history that had haunted the town for generations. "Amanda!" her father's voice cut through the chaos like a lifeline. He fought his way through the crowd but stopped short, eyes locked on the shadow still advancing toward her. "Get away from it." But the figure spoke again, its words swirling around Amanda and stifling her will. You belong here. You were always meant to stand with us. A gust of wind howled through the trees, the air thick with the scent of decay, pulling at her sanity. A piercing light shot across the sky, illuminating for a brief moment the face of the figure, a ghostly resemblance to someone she should know. "Mom?" The word slipped out, treacherous and light, yet laden with desperation. The shadow paused, and she felt a rush of hope surge within her, ignited by a flicker of recognition. "No, no," Amanda shook her head, bewildered. "You can't be her." "You died." The horror twisted in her stomach, as if the very ground recognized her anguish, trembling in sympathy. The phantom smirked, lips curling into a semblance of warmth, but eyes dark with despair. "You think you can escape the past? You are tied to us, a lineage of sorrow." Shadows writhed around it, encircling Amanda like a predator stalking its prey, tightening the net of fear that bound her. Suddenly, the darkness answered Tommy's cries. From the depths of the woods came a cacophony of whispers, like a chorus of tormented souls merging into one howl. "Join us! Join the legend!" They beckoned, a haunting melody rising and falling like the tide. "Amanda!" Her father lunged through the throng, breaking into her line of sight, desperation twisting his features. "You have to run. Now!" But the weight of the figure's presence held her firmly rooted. A cold realization swept over her, leaving her breathless. This wasn't just an echo from the past. It was the embodiment of every horror this town had buried. She was part of it. They all were. "Run!" she screamed, panic surging to her fingertips. "It's not just here. It's everywhere." The crowd surged, a wave of panic that swept Amanda off her feet. But the figure reached out, fingers outstretched, seeking to close the gap. It felt like a hand grasping for her soul, an unbreakable bond that sought to drag her back into its dark narrative as she struggled to escape the grip of history. Another firework exploded above them, blinding and fierce, painting the night sky with a burst of color. But the beauty was short-lived, a fleeting illusion, swallowed by the encroaching shadows. "Forget your fears," the figure howled, its voice rising above the din of the crowd, echoing with a timbre of ancient sorrow. "Your story has just begun." With one final push, Amanda broke free, stumbling toward her father who was still frantically searching for her. The flame of the past flickered behind her, chasing her into the night. But she could feel it, that dark presence lingering close, feeding off her fear. And as they reached the edge of the yard, the air shifted, a heavy weight descending as if something monumental awaited them in the darkness. "What have we awakened?" someone whispered behind them, and in that moment, Amanda knew the truth might not just be a story told for generations. It was now their reality, and the night had only just begun to unfold its terrors. What horrors lurked in wait, and would they ever truly be free from the darkness that called to them? The crowd didn't know where to run. Faces twisted in fear, searching for safety in a place where danger lurked in every shadow. Amanda's heart raced as she gripped her father's hand, the warmth of human connection anchoring her amidst the looming dread. But the feeling of safety was a fleeting illusion, fraying at the edges as the shadow followed. "Just keep moving," her father urged, his voice thick with urgency. They shuffled together away from the gravest whispers and the dark figure that still hovered, a darkened silhouette against the moonlit sky. But the cursed word "run" echoed within her head, a drumbeat amplifying her own pounding heart. There were shouts, desperate cries for help mixed with the sounds of children sobbing and adults screaming. Chaos reigned. Amanda couldn't shake that drawn familiarity with the lurking figure. It echoed in her bones. They were connected somehow, a tether she wished could be severed. The darkness had sunk its claws deep within this town, and nothing would ever be the same again. Amanda stole a glance back, expecting to see the figure twisting in pursuit. Instead, there was a stark stillness, as if the horror had paused to consider its next move. But something else caught her eye, a glint of silver through the trees. She squinted, heart hammering. It was an old swing set, rusted and forlorn, surrounded by a blanket of shadow. "Dad, look," she pointed, but he didn't respond. He was too focused on ushering her to safety. but that window of recognition and dread froze her in place. She felt a pull, the kind that wrapped around your insides and made you weak. "Wait," she called, yanking her hand from her father's grip. "There's something there. We have to see." Before she knew it, Amanda started towards the tree line, dazed but drawn by a force beyond comprehension. Each step felt heavier, as if the past was sinking its teeth into her ankles, holding her back. But there was a promise in the darkness, 2 answers, truth, perhaps a way to escape this cycle. "Stop, Amanda!" her father shouted, panic breaking through his voice. "Don't you dare go over there." But it was too late. She was already among the underbrush, the shadows swallowing her whole. The swing set loomed ahead, eerily swaying in a non-existent breeze. It creaked softly, a ghostly sound that seemed to beckon her closer. She hesitated, the weight of her father's plea crashing over her. "No," she shouted back, the echo ringing in the haunting air. "I need to know." The swings gained momentum with each whisper that filled the silence, dark voices swirling around her like a malevolent fog. "Come play with us," they chorused, an eerie melody that sent a shiver skittering down her spine. With a deep breath, Amanda stepped onto the time-worn platform. The moment she did, her resolve faltered. Memories of laughter filled her mind, blissful moments that twisted into something grotesque. Faces she loved, faces now missing. She stumbled back, heart racing, but the ground beneath her shifted, vibrating with a dark current. Her father surged forward, grasping her wrist right before she fell. "We need to leave." He pulled her back with a newfound strength. But the ground trembled, old roots awakening beneath them. The swing stopped abruptly, the farthest one swinging back toward them almost in defiance. She could sense something alive and ancient stirring beneath. "What's happening?" Amanda cried out, grasping her father's arm, their courage faltering together. Just then, a scream erupted from the depths of the woods, mingled with pained laughter. The air shattered, vibrations echoing through the ground, magnifying the weight on her chest. It felt like a seeping wound, the past clawing its way back, ready to resurface. "No!" Amanda screamed, desperation lacing her words. They were all bound to this haunted history. As they rushed back away from the swing set, the shadows moved closer, pooling at their heels, grasping eagerly for whatever regrets lay within them. "We can't go back," her father gasped, pulling her tight, mindlessly searching the dark for the way home. But the darkness had no intention of releasing its grip. Echoes of the lost danced at the fringes of their vision, a swirling confusion of what was real and what was trapped in the folds of legend. Suddenly, a blinding light erupted from the woods. Silhouettes blurred and vanished before their eyes. The figures that had once haunted their dreams became indistinguishable from each other, hazes of forgotten souls. "Amanda!" her father shouted over the din, but she was already moving toward the encroaching light, drawn by another force entirely. The whispers quickened their tempo, calling her name, coaxing her toward destiny. What comes next? She wondered, the question pulsing within her as she stepped toward the chaos unfurling behind her. Each question carried the weight of something more profound, something waiting for a reckoning. In that instant, between terror's grasp and the undefined allure of light, Amanda realized one heartbreaking truth. The past would not be denied. Whatever lay hidden beneath the surface was primed to come out. And they were running out of time. Amanda felt the weight of the world shifting beneath her feet. The blinding light flickered, a pulsating heartbeat that made her skin prickle. She turned to her father, panic etched on his face, his eyes wide in disbelief as the silhouettes danced around them. It felt as if the air itself was alive, charged with unspeakable torment. "Let us go," he shouted, urgency carving into every word. He pulled her back, but she was already lost in the brightness that called to her deeper than any fear. "Amanda, please," he begged, voice thick with desperation. Every muscle in his body was taut with the need to protect her. Yet the light's lure was stronger. She could almost hear it whispering promises, secrets unraveling in a language only she could understand. With each step she took forward, the shadows clawed behind her, growing in intensity. The screams from the woods morphed into an unsettling harmony, inviting and terrifying all at once. Her heartbeat matched the rising chaos, a dreadful rhythm that echoed through the darkness. "Come, Amanda, discover the truth," they pulsed, a chilling invitation that sent fresh waves of terror coursing through her. Was it really the truth she sought, or was it simply more horror? As she reached the veil of light, it engulfed her, stealing her breath. Her father pulled her back with a force that felt as unyielding as iron. "You don't know what you're doing," he yelled, trying to break the spell. But as she struggled against his grip, the light flickered, revealing glimpses of faces lost in the very dark of her nightmares. The laughter, once playful, morphed into screeching. Each face was a memory, a ghost of unheeded warnings, of lives wrapped in tragedy. A cold chill gripped Amanda's heart. "Daddy, what is happening?" she sobbed, panic overwhelming her senses. Out of the corner of her eye, she noticed movement. Shapes swirling, darkening the light. Shadows churned violently, like angry waves of an ocean crashing against cliffs. The light began to fade, not with gentleness but with a desperate scream. "We have to run," her father reiterated, his grip tightening around her arm. He turned, dragging her backward, away from the abyss. Yet as they stumbled, Amanda tripped, falling into the darkness. Time paused. Everything went silent. Alone now, she fought against the surrounding gloom. Her body scrambled for traction, but the ground was slick. Something slithered beneath her, cold and wet, wrapping around her ankle like an unwanted embrace. "Help!" she cried, adrenaline coursing through her as she fought to pull herself free. Suddenly, she was yanked backward into her father's arms. He had lunged toward her. "I got you. Hold on." He pulled her up just as the light vanished completely, plunging them into an impenetrable blackness. The world around them imploded with a deafening silence, and then a thundering boom reverberated through the air, like the crack of thunder. It shook them to their cores, paralyzing their breaths. Amanda trembled, sensing the presence of something vast and ancient surrounding them, something that stirred with malicious purpose. "Stay close," her father hissed, and they moved cautiously, hearts pounding as they stepped into the remaining shadows. But they could hear whispers now, coiling around them, seductive yet sinister. "You should be played with us, you should be known." Words circled like a vulture waiting for a moment of weakness. Amanda's breath quickened. "What do you want?" she dared to whisper into the dark. In that instant, a figure emerged from the shadows, a child, no older than Amanda, with wide, hollow eyes and an unsettling smile. "Come play," it sang sweetly, a siren call that shattered the tension of the moment. The absurd safety her father sought to build seemed to collapse around them, their backs pressed together against the relentless pull of the past. As the child elongated into a silhouette, a glint of silver caught Amanda's eye, an object half buried in the dirt. It seemed familiar, pulsing with a dark energy. "It's the truth," she thought, and in her heart, she felt the peril linger. They needed answers, but the price would be steep. What had been summoned by their curiosity? Amanda glanced at her father, their mutual fear visible. The blinding light had faded, replaced by an all-consuming darkness. "Are you ready?" he whispered, uncertainty framing his words. Was she? What had they awakened? The shadows groaned, the child grinned wider, and an undeniable feeling crept over them. They were not alone in this hell. The truth was closer now, lurking in the dread, waiting for the moment they surrendered to its will. Amanda felt a sinking sensation in her gut. Past and present mingled, and time seemed to fold in on itself. What if this was just the beginning? And then the laughter returned. It echoed through the silence, shrill and enchanting, a melody that left a mark deep within her soul. Together forever it chimed, resonating through the last of the fading light. At that moment, she knew they were caught in a web bigger than fear, and the question loomed larger. What would they sacrifice to break free? The darkness closed in around Amanda and her father, swallowing them whole. The child's smile twisted with something darker, a hunger beneath those hollow eyes. It beckoned them with a skeletal hand, the invitation laced with malice. "Come play," it intoned again, the sweetness of its voice undercut by the sting of fear coursing through Amanda's veins. Her heart raced. What kind of game was this? "No, we don't want to play," she shouted, but the sound was weak, swallowed by the oppressive silence. "Don't look at it," her father hissed, pulling her close. "Just focus on me. We can find a way out if we stay together." Yet shadows shifted around them, thick and unsettling, fluttering like moths to a flame. Each pulsing movement drew ever closer, the whispers deepening into an agonizing cacophony. "You're part of us now. You cannot escape." They slithered between her father's words, suffocating reason, bending reality into a nightmarish landscape. Amanda's gaze flickered toward the silver object buried in the dirt, a small locket. It shimmered faintly, promising secrets long forgotten. Curiosity warred with her instincts. It could help, she thought, but fear gripped her throat like a vice. She had to know what it was, to understand the attraction this place had embedded in her soul. "Daddy, I have to grab it," she exclaimed, a surge of reckless defiance pushing her forward. "Don't you?" But before he could finish, she broke free from his grip, propelled by an itch deep within her. She lunged toward the ground, fingers clawing at the cold earth, heart pounding wildly. The child laughed, its voice teasingly melodic. "You'll see. You'll see." Just as Amanda grasped the locket, laughter melded with a hollow boom, rattling the air. It felt as if the world was inching closer to the brink of collapse. Pulling it free, she held it up, the antique surface reflecting a few stray rays of light penetrating the darkness. Her mind raced with possibilities. "What secrets do you hold?" she whispered, mesmerized, unable to look away. "Amanda, no," her father shouted. Panic crossed his face, the raw fear of a parent unspooled. The very ground quaked beneath them. Dark tendrils leaped from the shadows, coiling around her legs, pulling her down relentlessly as she clutched the locket. It felt alive, pulsing with energy that rushed through her, drawing her into a memory of visions swirling in her mind aside. She saw flashes of faces, tormented and anguished, people reaching out for something lost within the folds of time. An insatiable dread seeped from the locket, wrapping itself around her heart. "Stop," she gasped, realizing that with each heartbeat, they were inching closer to the edge of something far more horrific. In an instant, the world twisted. The child's expression morphed again, turning sinister, its voice shifting between innocence and malice. "You shouldn't have taken it. It's ours. All of it." The shadows encroached, merging into a singularity of pure terror. The laughter grew louder, a deafening roar that threatened to consume any hope they had left. "Run!" Her father lunged for her, grabbing the locket, but not before a force slammed into him, sending him sprawling backward. "Amanda, we have to go now." Time fractured as Amanda turned, the darkness swirling, twisting into a storm. The child's laughter echoed as she clutched her father's arm. Their bodies pulled toward an unseen end, caught in an unstoppable riptide of horrors. "Do you really think you can escape?" The specters sneered, the shadows intertwining like snakes. "This is only the beginning." Amanda turned to see the child reaching for them, a gaping maw now showcasing rows of teeth. Panic surged anew, and they began to sprint away from the encroaching mass, but the whispers hardened, clawing at their sanity. "There is nowhere to hide. You cannot outrun your past." With every step, the path behind them darkened, the laughter fading into eerie silence, drawing closer to the undeniable truth that echoed through their minds. "Do you know what you've awakened?" Stumbling through the thickets of fear, Amanda could feel the air shift. Their escape was slipping, yet the locket pulsed in her hand, a glimmer of hope wrapped in shadows. Could it hold the key to their survival? "Come back," the child called out in a sing-song voice, crawling through the dark. "You belong with us." As they barreled into the heart of darkness, one question loomed over them like a dreadful specter. How much longer could they endure this unsettling game of life and death? And then, the laughter returned, but this time, It wasn't tea coming from the child. The shadows swelled, and for a heartbeat, Amanda thought she saw other forms emerge, faces from the locket. Faces from nightmares, and her mind screamed. What have we done? What lay ahead twisted their choices and stultified their sanity. And even as they ran, she felt the truth creeping behind them, ready to strike once again. Would the truth set them free, or bind them forever? The ground trembled beneath Amanda and her father as they sprinted through the darkness, shadows stretching like tendrils, clawing at their heels. Panic surged through her, a wild tide threatening to drown her thoughts. Every whispered threat wrapped around her throat, tightening her breath. She clutched the locket tighter, its chill seeping into her palm. Don't look back, her father shouted, but the instinct to glance over her shoulder was unbearable. The child was just there, hovering, grinning with that maddening, hollow smile. She could almost hear its thoughts. We're coming for you. Suddenly, the shadows coalesced, forming figures. Faces twisted in anguish, mouths opened in silent pleas, and Amanda's heart stopped. The entities were not merely figments of imagination. They felt real, alive. The locket pulsed against her chest, the heartbeat of the damned echoing its power. We have to find a way out, she urged, pulling her father down a narrow path winding through the trees, the dark foliage closing in around them like a monstrous embrace. Where is out? He rasped, desperation clawing at his voice. His eyes darted as if he could physically see the grasping fingers of the shadows reaching for them. Somewhere light exists, she cried back, her legs screaming as they pushed against the thickening air. Adrenaline surged, yet fear wrapped around her heart, squeezing tightly. She could feel the darkness breathing, inhaling and exhaling as if it had life. Shadows shifted around her, whispering secrets she wasn't sure she wanted to hear. Help us! A voice trembled from behind, a wretched echo that crawled under her skin. She felt her father's grip tighten, warmth from his hand cutting through the cold grip of fear. No, don't listen, he shouted, but she could see it in his eyes, doubt. The path twisted beneath their feet, a serpentine maze leading nowhere. Keep moving, he urged, but the whispers grew louder, a wave crashing over her, pulling her closer to the depths of despair. Why don't you join us? We won't hurt you. The words, sweet yet rancid, filled her mind with distrust. The shadows seemed to beckon, a morbid invitation. Suddenly, a clearing opened up before them, dim light flickering from somewhere deep within the grove. Hope ignited in Amanda's chest. Look, there's light. We can. Before she could finish, the ground heaved violently, as if trying to swallow them whole. Amanda, her father shouted, his voice drowning in a swell of echoing laughter. An unseen force ripped her backward, tearing her from her father's grip. No, she screamed, reaching for him, but gravity pulled her down into the suffocating embrace of shadows. She felt the locket slip from her fingers, and as it hit the ground, the laughter stopped. Silence enveloped her. The oppressive atmosphere felt thick, sticky, like the weight of 1,000 eyes watching. Welcome, Amanda, a voice cooed, sultry and sinister, threading through the silence. The child appeared before her, larger now, looming and monstrous. Its mouth stretched wider, revealing rows of razor-like teeth. You took what was ours, now you belong to us. Fingers like ice caressed her cheek, and Amanda's body went numb. Panic drummed in her ears, but the darkness pressed in, suffocating any rational thought. A truth dawned, horrifying in its clarity. The child was a conduit, a puppet of something far older and more powerful. With a surge of will, she lunged for the locket, the last remnant of hope. But as her fingertips brushed against the cool metal, the shadows retaliated. A whirlwind of darkness engulfed her, the cacophony of tortured souls rising once more, and then everything vanished. Sinking deeper into an abyss, she realized she was not alone. The faces from before swirled around her, whispering their stories, their pain mixing with hers. She was one of them now, bound to the locket's dark legacy. The question burned in her mind. How could they escape the very thing they had unleashed? And then, through the void, a flicker of light beckoned distantly. Was it an exit or an illusion? Meant to entice? The shadows locked tighter around Amanda, a vice of despair holding her in place. Find me, a soft yet commanding whisper pulled at her consciousness, echoing against the walls of terror. Just as hope flickered, the darkness laughed with a chorus of voices merging into a single unrelenting truth. You can't escape what you've awakened. In that moment, she finally understood the real game was just beginning. Would they be able to confront the horror that lay ahead? Or would they too fall victim to the shadows that clawed eagerly at their souls? The air crackled with a cold, unnatural energy, a stinging reminder that darkness thrived in the absence of light. Amanda felt the weight of remorse tugging at her consciousness, blending with the echoes of the damned. They moaned, their stories intertwining each whisper, ensnared her deeper, as though she were becoming the vessel for their unheard tales. Let us out, help us, they chorused, weaving a web of longing that stoked her own hollow dread. She fought against their pull, against the crushing despair that threatened to drown her. Guided by instinct, Amanda focused on the flickering light far beyond the shadows, a beacon, a promise of escape, or perhaps another cruel joke. Then she heard the childish voice again, richer and darker this time, slicing through the din of torment. You brought the locket here, Amanda. You released us. Each word dripped with a sinister delight, awakening ice in her veins. Now you will pay our price. She couldn't shake the shivering realization that she was not just an innocent caught in a malevolent game. This was a nightmare woven by her own hands. The locket, the object of her mother's memory, had become a conduit of despair, a key unlocking the prison of the lost. What kind of price? She thought frantically. Suddenly, the memory of her father's hand clasped tightly around her own surged back, grounding her momentarily in warmth. In a twist of desperation, she began to fight against the darkness, pushing against the merging souls. Each ounce of despair whispered of abandonment, but Amanda roared against them, her voice shaking with fear and fury. No, I will not let you take me. With every shard of her will, she focused on the light. It pulsated gently, almost as if it was breathing in sync with her heartbeat. Then she felt a flicker of courage, igniting a small flame within the cold expanse. Slowly, she felt the shadows loosen their grip, unintentionally dragging along remnants of the tortured souls. Each face they released wailed and cried, echoing her defiance. But as Amanda pushed toward the light, the laughing grew louder, more vicious, as if the shadows were enraged. But you cannot leave. The monstrous child loomed larger, shadowed claws stretching to reclaim what was slipping away. You belong to us. We are a part of you now. Amanda shouted back. I refuse to be part of your nightmare. With a mighty roar, she lunged toward the flickering light, clawing at the fabric of darkness. The laughter sharpened, morphing into a shrill howl as the weight of the shadows shattered. She fell through a vortex, spiraling into white-hot brilliance. But even in the freedom of the light, Amanda felt the chilling grip of dark whispers clawing at her thoughts, each promising to reclaim her. Find us, they hissed, fading into the edges of her awareness. Then, everything stopped. The world around her gave way as solid ground met her feet. Stumbling forward, breathless, she found herself standing in a familiar forest clearing. The moon hung low, illuminating her surroundings. Dad? She called out, her heart racing. The trees stood silent, gnarled limbs reaching toward the sky like skeletal fingers. But as she stepped forward, the satisfaction of safety was dashed. The whispers returned, echoing all around her. You can never escape your sin. Before she could process their meaning, a dark shadow darted amongst the trees. It paused, and for a heartbeat, she saw her father's face amongst the darkness, twisted, lost. Help me, he cried, a sound that twisted her heart in agony. The shadows danced, reveling in her confusion as Amanda screamed, running toward the figure. Dad, hold on. I'm coming. As she reached out, the form twisted back into the void, laughter erupting into the night. The realization hit her cold. She had escaped one nightmare only to step straight into another, breath coming in ragged gasps. Amanda's resolve hardened. She'd find him no matter the cost and silence the voices once and for all. But the chilling question loomed. Was it already too late? The shadows whispered in satisfaction. You thought you escaped. But this is only the beginning. The darkness pressed in around Amanda like a thick fog, suffocating and heavy. Each step she took echoed in the silence, her heart pounding as if trying to break free from her chest. The clearing felt wrong, the air thick with an urgency that clawed at the edge of her sanity. She squinted into the shadows, a violent cocktail of dread and determination mixing in her veins. "Dad," she called again, voice trembling. The trees offered no reply, only secrets locked behind gnarled bark and whispering leaves. They seemed to pulse with energy, watching her, waiting. She turned, straining to catch a glimpse of her father among the shadows. But the memory of his face, twisted in despair, dug deep. "Where are you?" The words slipped from her lips, muddled with rising panic. Suddenly, the mocking laughter erupted again. It churned through the forest like a malevolent breeze, carrying with it the weight of lost souls, their torment merging with her own. "You cannot save him, you cannot save yourself." The voices sang with cruel harmony, as if relishing the growing fear swirling around her. Gripping the locket around her neck, she squeezed it tight, hoping against hope. "I will find him," she shouted defiantly, but her voice shook like a fragile leaf. Each heartbeat drummed in her ears, each breath felt shallow, hitching and restless as if sensing her fear. The shadows began to shift, coiling and snaking through the trees. The thickness of the darkness slithered closer, and an almost palpable dread materialized. The forest itself seemed to conspire against her, each twisted branch and rustling leaf plotting her downfall. She stumbled back, feeling the chilling breath of the darkness taunting her resolve. Then she saw it. A figure, barely illuminated by the faint light, leaning against a tree. It was her father, or at least it resembled him, a shadow of the man she once knew. His eyes glowed with an unnatural light, and a grim smile stained his lips, as if a part of him was trapped, bound to the darkness. "Dad?" she cried out, her voice cracking. But as she stepped closer, the shadow morphed, twisting into something grotesque, the edges of its form wavering like smoke. "Help me," it rasped, but the sound felt wrong, an echo of something she should fear. "Stay away," she shouted, recoiling as the shadow lunged toward her with arms outstretched. Her instincts kicked in, and she turned to run, fleeing deeper into the forest, blindly navigating the maze of ancient trees that seemed alive with malice. The laughter grew shriller behind her, surrounding her as if every shadow had come to play. "You can't escape the price you owe. We are forever tethered," they screeched, their taunts echoing from every direction. Amanda's breath quickened, adrenaline surging as the shadows closed in. They were all around her now, thousands of spectral figures reaching out, clawing for her sanity. She could feel their despair tugging at her heart, threatening to drag her down into the abyss alongside them. But then, out of the chaos, a thought struck her, a realization. The locket! It had to be the key. If it summoned this nightmare, maybe it held the power to undo it. With trembling hands, she fumbled with the locket, its cool surface grounding her amidst the terror. As the shadows lurked closer, she shouted, "I will end this." She felt the weight of its energy pulsing, the trapped souls responding to her conviction. With all her strength, she slammed the locket against a tree trunk. The impact reverberated like thunder, sending a shockwave through the forest. For a moment, silence swallowed the laughter whole, but darkness didn't like being challenged. The ground stirred beneath her feet, and a rumble echoed through the air. "Foolish girl," a voice boomed from the abyss, cold and furious. "You don't know what you've unleashed." As a fissure split the ground, a surge of fear coiled around her heart. Was it over? Or was she merely awakening something far worse? The earth trembled, shadows twisting into monstrous forms, gathering force for a final strike. "What have you done?" they cried, and Amanda understood this wasn't just about saving her father anymore. This was about survival. That I end the next breath. The ground trembled violently, and the darkness converged on her with horrific speed. With each thudding pulse of her heart, the stakes rose higher. Just as the void reached for her, she stepped forward, heart racing, ready to confront whatever horror awaited her, to face the shadows that whispered her name. A voice from deep within the chaos called out, "You can't hide what you've done, and we will never let you go." And then, the darkness collapsed in on itself. Was it her end, or merely the beginning of a more profound nightmare? The air vibrated with a life of its own as Amanda stood alone in that chaotic void, the past gnawing at her heels. She felt her father's presence hovering just out of reach, an echo trapped between a memory and the shadow that loomed beyond. With a deep breath, she pivoted toward the pulsating darkness, a rage igniting within her. This was it, the moment where she would either succumb or rise. "Enough!" she shouted, her voice steady despite the tremors racing down her spine. The shadows responded, twisting in fury, howls swirling around her like a storm. The growls echoed against the trees, synchronized chaos pushing her into their terrifying rhythm. But within that fear, Amanda discovered something: profound resolve. She could feel her heart hammering, impossibly loud, a siren calling for strength. She had been woven into this tapestry of despair, but she also held the locket, a remnant of an ancient connection that had bound her family to the darkness. "Let my father go," she screamed, her voice cutting through the cacophony with a newfound authority. The shadows stiffened and hesitated, momentarily disarmed by her conviction. As the air thickened once more, she took a step closer, holding the locket high. It shimmered with an otherworldly light, eclipsing the darkness draping around her like a shroud. "Your chains are forged from the past, but my will is stronger." With each word, she slammed the locket against the ground. The impact sparked a surge of energy coursing through the forest, igniting the very roots of despair that had propagated for decades. The ground quaked beneath her feet, and the shadows whipped into a frenzy, their whispers coiling tighter around her. "You think you can free yourself?" The darkness wailed, 1,000 voices merging into a grotesque cacophony. The pain in their tones was palpable, and Amanda felt their desperation pull at her being. But within that chaos, she found clarity. "I'm breaking the cycle," she cried, determination hardening her voice. Gritting her teeth, she focused the power of the locket within her, weaving her intentions into every fiber of her being. A light erupted from within, overpowering the shadows, sending them shrinking back with anguished shrieks. Amanda felt the weight of her family's burdens crash upon her, but she refused to break. This was her moment. "Release him," she demanded, her heart pounding alive with purpose. Light exploded around her, illuminating the trees, engulfing the darkness. The blinding glow revealed glimpses of lost souls, faces twisted with sorrow, yearning for freedom. Just like her father, in that split second, she spotted him, a flickering silhouette, eyes pleading behind the veil of shadows. "Dad!" she shouted, her heart cracking open like a chrysalis. "Amanda!" He roared through the grotesque laughter, reaching for her, and she felt every pulse of love they shared guiding her movements. As the locket flared even brighter, she rushed toward him, calling all her strength. "I'm here. I'll save you." Just then, the shadows lunged, but Amanda, fueled by fierce love and the energy of the locket, tore through the darkness. "Get away from him!" she screamed, as the brilliant light soared from her fingertips like a comet streaking through the night. The shadows whirled in retreat, shrieking against the radiant light. Their anguish resonated like a haunting melody. Finally, she reached him. Their hands locked together, warmth radiated between them. It was hope woven from heartbreak. "We've got to go," she gasped, pulling him into the protective embrace of the light. Yet the whispers clawed hungrily at her, trying to sever their bond, tethering her back to the darkness. "You are ours," echoed their final pleas, but Amanda refused their claims. "No, we are free." With a ferocity that ruptured the darkness surrounding them, she gripped the locket tight, feeling it pulse with energy. In unison, they stepped into the light, breaking the suffocating hold of the past. The shadows howled, their wails shrill and furious as a rift opened, swallowing their cries, forever washing them away as the brilliant light enveloped them. Amanda blinked against the brightness, gleaming rays sweeping away all the pain. The darkness faded, revealing a star-dusted sky above, the moon a witness to their triumph. She and her father fell to their knees, breathless, but alive, free at last. "Dad," she whispered, tears brimming, yet the warmth of joy surged through her. He looked at her, gratitude reflected in his tears. "You did it, Amanda. You saved us." But she knew better. The realization sank in like a bittersweet echo. Though they had escaped the curse of the past, its lessons would forever linger. Yet Amanda felt hope ignite within her, a flicker in the depths of a bright future as dawn broke on the horizon, painting the landscape in hues of gold. Amanda resolved to tell their story, to honor those lost and ensure darkness was always faced with light. One final whisper lingered in her heart, a vow to never let the past twist their future again. As the sun rose higher, a whisper flowed through the gentle morning breeze, a promise of healing. "Quit now? No way. This was only the beginning of something beautiful." Don't miss a moment, guys. You need to subscribe now to catch all our exclusive stories. Each click fuels the magic. Smash that like button for more wild adventures now. Trust me, it matters. We want to hear from you. Flood the comments with your reactions and theories about this epic conclusion. And don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this to keep the bond of light strong.